So many of you know that I'm Egyptian. Many of you also know that Masri is my mother tongue. And I'm pretty sure that woman is probably from the region that my dad is from. But I'm going to get into that maybe another time because it's really not significant to what I'm about to say. This video made its rounds about, I think, 2 years ago when I first joined the app, maybe 3 years ago. And I wanted to touch on this because, first off, there's a much longer clip, and there are many clips of her doing something similar with different kids. What she is doing is she is imitating the basically the street vendors that we have. They're kind of like street vendors. And essentially, that is their announcement protocol. Okay, that's how they announce that they're coming. And so this enables them to advertise the products that they have. Was what she's doing intentionally racist? First and foremost, let me make something absolutely clear. Egyptians are Africans. I am an African. And there is colorism problems in Egypt. But this is not an example of it. Do you know why? First off, she does that with another child who has blue eyes and curly blonde hair. And she does something similar. I believe she refers to some sort of a candy or something. My memory is not great, and it's been years since I've seen the full clip, and it's not available online for some reason, or I just simply can't find it. But the bigger picture here is, this is actually a celebration of the child. She is playing with the child and she is celebrating the child. And flipping it around to say that this is an intentional act of discrimination and pretending that the little boy is a slave, that is not what is happening here. Cultural and social context means a lot of things, and it matters. I understand that right now, on the international and political spectrum, Egypt is really falling in a really terrible place. And that is also at the cost of its own people who live below the dignity line. Culture and race is based on your identity from where you are located and a lot of cultural context. And so a lot of expressions you may not necessarily understand and you may take out of context. Unfortunately, that is the cost of being internationally connected through social media. I can't speak to her intent. I can't. But I will let you all know that Pan-Africanism existed long before Afrocentrism was created by the CIA. And the CIA created Afrocentrism specifically to isolate North American Black individuals and African North Americans from the rest of the world. It was also created to create a divide with the fictitious line that is the Sahara Desert. Yeah, my bed frame just tipped. Let's ignore that. What Egyptians self-identify as right now should not be your concern. What should be your concern is not going after a bunch of people who live below the dignity line, but rather going after the perpetrators that are attacking everybody else, including Egyptians. Yeah, but Mo, they have also been known to be really unkind to Sudanese refugees. They've also been really unkind to Palestinian and to Syrian refugees. I've seen it. I've had to correct that stupid anti-immigrant bullshit rhetoric in people that I know. I had to check them and remind them who the real enemies were. Because just like anywhere else, the government is scapegoating the refugees to justify the extreme greed of fabricated inflation that is affecting everyone who already lived way below the poverty line and way below the dignity line. So I need you to be all acutely aware that these are all distractions. This is propaganda. This is manufactured. This is intentionally taking something out of context to make it something it isn't, to distract you from your responsibility to stop multiple genocides that are happening in the world right now. I want to appreciate Lou for messaging me directly and asking about this, because had he not brought it to my attention, I wouldn't have known that this video was making its rounds again and that I would have to have this discussion again, unfortunately. But I really appreciate that my friend came to me and asked me directly, is the translation and the description of what's going on here accurate? And it doesn't surprise me because I surround myself with intelligent people who ask those questions. Not to say that you are not intelligent. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is my surrounding does not jump to that conclusion. They question everything they see. Because unfortunately, we're all educated or firsthand experienced in this kind of manufacturing of consent. And this is what I need you to identify. Because the manufacturing of consent is not the genocides that are currently happening alone. It is also the genocides that are being enacted for the future, planned out for the future. I invite you to look up the history of Pan-Africanism. I invite you to look up the fact that many civilians have, in fact, behaved as liberators within that continent, from the furthest north to the furthest south to the furthest east to the furthest west. The phenotypes did not matter. The skin complexion did not matter. Because the fact is, our blackness is not determined just exclusively by the level of melanation that we produce. Especially those of us with medical condition that just keep getting freaking lighter with time, causing us major health problems. But also, blackness is a Western construct that has been bastardized enough to separate people within that continent and those who have been forced into the diaspora as stolen people on stolen land. So this is your moment to examine what it is you're witnessing. Ask questions. No, I'm not saying this is AI. It's not AI at all. This was a real woman. Is a real woman. A real Egyptian. Picking up a real refugee baby. And celebrating it. Saying how beautiful that baby is, just like chocolate. Sweetness is such a celebration of the things that we love in my culture. عسل, قمر, لبن, شوكولاتة. يا منور, يا أسمراني. Those are all celebrations based on the beauty of the different level of melanations that exist within our nation. And is there colorism and texturism? There frickin' absolutely is. But stop picking fights with people who live below the dignity line to justify the fact and that you are not fighting the people putting you below the poverty line. You want to pick a fight with the Egyptian government? I got your back. But please leave the fucking people alone. This isn't a Saudi Arabia situation, or Qatar situation, or United Arab Emirates situation, where many of the people there who are citizens are living way above a normal people's imagination capacity to see what wealth is. These are people who live below the dignity line. So please leave them alone. They're doing their part, while you're just here making excuses not to do yours.